Thank God it's Friday. Our guest this morning is Abubakar Idris, MNI. Mr. Idris is a former head of service in Kebbi State. Good morning to you, Abubakar Idris.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for making the time for us. To talk about President Tinubu's impending cabinet shakeup. If it was in the realm of speculation, well, it's sort of now sure because the special advisor to the president on information has said that, well, he is not sure if it is going to be imminent as now, or indeed in the next month, the month of October. But one way or the other, it looks like it's been out there, and the president will indeed be shaking up his cabinet. I think we can go with that idea, can we not?
Yeah, I think the idea of reshuffling the cabinet is no longer a rumor. I've been heard, like you mentioned, rightly mentioned, from the presidential spokesman. But be that as may, if he ended up doing it, although we don't know when, I think it's a promise made and a promise fulfilled, because Mr. President has said it from day one that he will be reshuffling his cabinet from time to time. And I think he had even appointed an official in the person of Hajia Hadiza Balabusuma to monitor the performance of ministers with a view to tinker with the cabinet, maybe periodically or from time to time. Yep.
No, sorry, I'm sorry for interrupting. Please continue.
No, the point I was trying to make is that reshuffling of the cabinet is long overdue.
Okay.
For a simple reason, the presidential spokesman said early this week, that some ministers are camera shy. They are not communicating with the
yes.
Because part of that, governance is about the people, and the people must be involved in their own affairs. Nobody will blow your trumpet, but you try to do it in the best way you can, because everybody is busy blowing his or her trumpet. Because the fact remains that these are little is known about the performance of the administration, because I heard the presidential spokesman was saying that Mr. President has done a lot.
Okay. But
maybe because we are at the periphery of the Nigerian society, maybe people like us here don't hear very much about the performance of Mr. President. So I think it's good he tinker with the cabinet and bring maybe people who can effectively communicate with general populace so that we know where we are, where we hope to be.
Indeed.
I think it's important. Yes.
So, about that last point, that point you brought up about some ministers allegedly being camera shy. You are not the first person that said it. In fact, it was said from within the presidency that it has been observed that some of them are camera shy. That's not a thing, that's not a luxury, if that is the word, or shall we say a failing that can really be accommodated in that kind of a job. So for the moment, let us assume there are other criteria, no doubt, which the presidency will use in deciding who is to stay, who is to be reassigned, and who is to be excused from the cabinet. But should they have also taken these kind of things into consideration? That is assuming, without conceding, that everybody has done a good job, and it now comes down to the extent to which the public has heard from them. There are ministers that we hear from almost on a daily basis, and there are some that not very much, that we haven't heard from very much. Their ability in the PR arena, is that something that maybe going forward people have to be looking at? How communicative is he? How expressive is he? What is the extent? Because the president was actually saying out there, go out there and tell them about the good work this administration is doing, that you are doing on behalf of this administration. I mean, to be that kind of prompting said to me that, uh-oh, there is a problem.
Let me make this point very clear. In every country across the world, there are capable and incapable members of the cabinet. As much as we appreciate constant communication between the government and the governed, sometimes an effective minister, his performance, conduct, and relationship with the general public, including the press, will speak for him. But the fact remains that few Nigerians are happy with some of the members of the cabinet. You see, in other climes, there are three fundamentals that help or consideration that help a leader to make informed decision about who to appoint to serve in a cabinet. Number one is capacity to deliver. Somebody with the capacity to deliver may not necessarily have knowledge of the subject matter, but we invite everybody that has the knowledge to help him deliver. And this is exactly what informed the support of most Nigerians, or a number of Nigerians, to Mr. President. Because given his precedent or antecedents, when he was a governor, or when he served as the governor of Lagos State, you find all characters, all shade of opinions, capable people that help him to deliver his mandate in Lagos. So we thought Mr. President would do this as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But alas, there are people that are nondescript characters that are in the cabinet. In fact, some of us knew knew some of the ministers that came from our area or our zone. And in all honesty, a number of them have no reason to be in the cabinet based on their antecedents. Yet Mr. President appointed him for whatever reason. So the second thing that leaders look for to give people public service appointment is knowledge of the subject matter. Because you cannot lead when you don't know even the mandate of your agency or ministry. You have to have fair knowledge of the ministry, although even though one knows that technocrat does most of the job, but you need to push them. You need to motivate them. You have to have comprehensive understanding of your goal. You have to have goal, you have to have mission, you have to have target to achieve. Sadly, one of the last thing that leaders look is about loyalty. But some of our leaders misconstrue loyalty to be membership of a political party or commitments and achievement during campaign. Not knowing that in most cases what people miss is that loyalty of a public servant is to the seats of the president or the governor or any chief of authority. As soon as you leave that place, you are almost forgotten. So loyalty should be to the constitution, not to an individual, because individuals are dispensable. So, but instead of loyalty, even the loyalty I have just described, most leaders prefer hero worshiping. So this is besides the point. The truth is that most Nigerians are not happy with the composition of Mr. President's cabinet. This is the truth of the matter. And not until Mr. President is able to draw a line of demarcation between partisan politics and the governance, there will always be problem. If I could remember correctly, there was an emir we had, late emir of Gwandu, that once advised a newly sworn governor of Kebbi State. He said, Mr. Governor, if you want to give an appointment, give capable and a responsible person that can deliver your mandate. But those that you like, give them money. So we want a situation whereby Mr. President will look wide. There is no part of Nigeria where you don't have credible, responsible, capable people that you can rely upon to be given public appointment. So let him look wide and request the security agency and National Assembly to do detailed security clearance for anybody found worthy of appointment as a member of the Federal Executive Council. Because you don't need to be told. These are people, they're not extraterrestrial beings. We knew them, good or bad. But yet they passed security clearance. They were cleared by security agencies. They went to the National Assembly. Some of them just bow and go because of the tradition in National Assembly. Even if you serve as a councillor in the local government, you are found worthy of appointment or federal appointment, you just bow and go. I think that culture should be reconsidered for the time being. But all this does not mean that there are no good people in the cabinet. And I believe Hajia Hadiza Usman, Bala Usman, maybe will give a comprehensive report, objective, on the performance of each and every minister in the cabinet.
Since she was announced.
And secondly, like I said, you see, governance is about service delivery. It's not about who you appoint. Like now, we here in the Northwest, anybody, regardless of where he or she come from, provided he can help in any way to mitigate insecurity in Northwest geopolitical zone, we welcome him. It's not a matter of somebody must come from any of our states. Please give an appointment to somebody who can deliver the good. Because in the final analysis, the stewardship of Mr. President boils down is what he has brought on the table. It's not a matter of you appointed this one, you appointed this a friend and a member of my family, and so on and so forth. But in the Northwest, what we lack is security of life and property, and security for our farmers to go to the farm. I always give this instance. You see, we here, as in the North, if our farmers can go to the farm, and the farm, in fact, they don't care what you do in government. So long as there's no security, there's always bound to be problem of say food security, physical security of people and their properties, and so on and so on. But once you have security, and now that we are having a good rainy season, I don't think we will have problem of poverty, insecurity, and a higher cost of living.
Okay. You know, I was just thinking, and thank you for that overview of the salient points, the things that need to be thought about in appointing anybody to this exalted position. But there probably is also the matter of political favors. In fact, I think one columnist I was reading was opining that, well, in the past 1 year, the president would have discharged his obligation to his political favors. So maybe he cannot get down to the business of selecting, you know, people along the lines that you have been talking about, which might not have been necessarily possible initially. So many favors that had to be returned, as it is thought. The president can't know everybody. A number of people came up into the public space only as a result of, you know, the announcement of their names. Now, here, that's where a problem is, because the president can't know everybody. And I don't know how, what you think about that particular area, because as you said, there will be good men and women everywhere in the country. And one would have thought that it would be the president's interest to actually have a pool of those best of the best from which to select. But now, a lot of Nigerians have made formed the opinion, and you said so in so many words, that, you know, we could have done better. And people are itching for a change. So, but going forward, there always will be this political consideration where somebody gets a slot, somebody has the privilege or the invitation to submit somebody, and you feel that you have to go ahead and do that because of their efforts, contributory efforts to the position that you now hold. It might be a governor, it might be the president.
I agree with you, absolutely. There is, and there always must be political favors anywhere in the world. But then there's a limit to which you can bend to return political favor, because the interests of Nigeria and Nigerians are paramount, are more important than any other consideration. And I don't think we should tie ourselves to a situation whereby an executive will ask somebody to make a nomination. And if that person makes a nomination, then that is final. No.
Okay.
Ask him to make 3 or 4 or 5 to present 3 or 5 nominees, out of which he'll make selection. And more importantly, security agents should be given free hand to clear or not to clear anybody, regardless of his or her contribution during electioneering campaign. You see, a situation whereby somebody is appointed as federal executive council and the entire people of his state and zone are not comfortable with him because of his antecedents in public service.
Yes.
Or somebody could be appointed a minister when we knew for a fact that he is incapable of performing. You see, there's this wrong notion that a lot of Nigerians make, that whosoever serves as a governor necessarily acquired requisite experience and expertise in leadership, which is not true. Because the truth of the matter is that most, with few exceptions, most governors are absolute monarchs in their states.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In fact, there is a governor here in the north, after he finishes 8-year tenure. A friend was assessing him. He said, look at this guy. He was here for 8 years, he doesn't know politics and he doesn't know governance. Because a number of them are not here to learn, are here to give directives. You know, most governors are governing without even the executive council, talk less of technocrats in service. So actually, there is need for scrutiny of individuals before they are appointed. Because Nigeria and the mandate of Mr. President is more important than any other consideration. After all, Mr. President was elected based on mandate. A lot of people have a lot of hope and expectations from him, not to any minister. Because any minister that falters, the blame in the final analysis goes back to Mr. President, because he appointed him. He delegated his powers to him. And we want a situation whereby Mr. President will not have any attachment to any minister. You commit an offense, we are just sick and tired of looking over things or forgetting or overlooking crimes. Any minister that falters, he should be shown the way out. If he is representing a political interest, that interest is not only him that symbolizes or represented. Let him appoint somebody. In fact, Mr. President will have no excuse to appoint third-class individuals and personalities as members of the cabinet. We need the responsible, credible, and the capable people to lead this country. It should be noted Nigeria is now a trash hole for a new beginning.
Indeed.
Failure is not an option.
Indeed. Emphasis on that word, capable, because these people, these ministers, men and women, they also have to have the ability for self-initiative. You might be as knowledgeable, let us for the moment talk along those terms, but if you're not a self-starter, there's going to be a problem, because you will articulate what the objective is, what the president's direction is, but if you're not a self-starter, you probably don't realize or understand or know what to do. And if you haven't done very much, then there's precious little to bring to the public, apart from the name. There you are going as the Honorable Minister of whatever it is. So there's also that, I think you've also spoken about this competence. The president has to make sure that he can bring men of competence, because when a man is competent, he probably has a very lot to speak about. I don't want to be mentioning particular names at this place, but there are those who just are doers. And I guess it might be easier for doers to come out and explain what they are doing. I have the first phone call on this program. Good morning, Reverend Dominic.
Chief Yori, I don't know if you can hear me. The network is neither here or there.
We can hear you very clearly. We can hear you quite clearly.
Yori, I want to be fair to most of the ministers, or if not all the ministers. I want to be very fair. Yori, but can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can.
Okay. I want to be fair to them. Why? Because I don't think Nigeria want to hear their voice. Nigerians want to see the result of what they're doing. This one thing, because everybody is not a spokesperson. Everybody is not Minister of Communications. But just like my friend Josh always says, that the last administration were not communicating well. I could beg Mr. President, who is a listening president, to bring back the man in the Ministry of Solid Minerals to become a Minister of Communication. Because that young man can communicate better than the now Minister of Communication. He knows how to use words. You have to convince people, whether rightly or wrongly, to believe in what you're doing. And that power, just like you're a journalist, you know what I mean. Communication is a skill. It's not just everybody. The young man in the Ministry of Solid Minerals can do it better than the one who is there now. Number two, Yori, I want to plead to Mr. President to cut down the cabinet. Yori, I want to give you this assignment. Do it as a national assignment. Don't look at anywhere. Just mention 10 ministers in this cabinet. Mention 10, just offhand. Please, I beg you. You don't need to answer questions, but answer this one. For national interest, you're a journalist of international repute. I start watching you from black and white to color television. Just mention 10 ministers offhand. It's not possible. I can only mention 3 or 4.
I take the point. I take the point you're making, Reverend Dominic. I take the point that you are making, Reverend Dominic. Well, thank you very much for calling in. Well, you see, he started off, coming back to you, Abubakar Idris, coming back to you, the first point he made was that he wanted to be fair to the ministers and that perhaps people don't really want to hear from them. They really want to see the result of their work. But I might have retorted to him. That, look, I think the people in advertising, which is a business all about communication, say that, look, if you're winking in the dark, who knows that you are winking? You've got to be able to communicate what is going on. But Reverend Dominic, maybe you can see you can have a rationale for what he's saying. That I think what he's saying, and again, I'll go back to advertising. Advertising will not agree with you. Even the best product needs to be advertised. Reverend Dominic has said that let their work speak for them. Well, as the president seems to be, going now by this intention to rejig his cabinet, it's not enough. You've got to also communicate clearly what you're doing. And if you're not comfortable with that, then there generally is a problem. But Abubakar Idris, your thoughts on the contribution of that gentleman?
Let me say this. I was privileged during the course of my service years to interview graduates that applied for position in the former Sokoto and the Kebbi civil service. The first, we usually divide the questions into 3. Normally, we ask you, why do you want to join us? Or tell us about yourself. You know what we are trying to determine that? Because a graduate, is expected to have the capacity to communicate. So we just want to hear whether you know tenses in the first place. Can you communicate? Because an officer that cannot communicate cannot perform. That's one. And secondly, we ask you questions to find out that in the subject you, or in the based on the degree you claim to have. We ask you questions to determine whether you pass through the university or the polytechnic or whatever you claim to own their certificate. What we want to determine is to know whether or not you pass through the institutions you hold its certificate or the institution pass through. And finally, we ask you the third leg of the question, that based on our own understanding, given the syllabus of whatever qualification you have, whether you venture out to read more than you are taught. That sort of question, we expect you not to have the answer. And when you tell us that you don't know, you get full marks. But if you know, then you are exceptional. But if you don't know and you do not admit that you don't know, you just parry the question and so on, trying to deceive us. That says a lot about your character. Because to admit you don't know is a sign that you are ready to learn. But when you try to parry the question and try to deceive us, you know you are a bad character.
You will know immediately.
Now, having said this, like I said at the commencement of this discussion, among Mr. President and members of his cabinet, there are good people, honest. You know, a lot of people don't bother. Is that nowadays we the Fulani, we said now that we don't have cows. You know, Fulani study their cows. Each cow has its own name. You can command it to do one thing or another. But now that Fulani don't have cows, they study people. Did you know there are people in each community from around the federation? When you give them appointment, those who knew them, they will just go home and sleep. They will say things will be done. That's one. And secondly, there are people that when you give them appointment, not even members of their family will be happy because they knew that that guy is either a group or incapable of delivering the goods. So these are some of the fundamental things that the president should look for.
Indeed, as you have said.
Now, politics is over. The day he was sworn in, politics is over, but that does not mean that he should not compensate those who help him. But now he should look for more. And the fact that, it's important for him to look beyond the APC.
Okay.
Because you see, in the course of one service year, in the course of service year, he should look for additional supporters. Look at the number of people that even cared to vote in the last presidential election. More people did not vote than those who voted. So let him look outside the box.
All right. Let me just bring...
in the final analysis, what has he achieved? Okay. That will determine his political standing in the future.
Okay. Yep. Please let me bring in now Peter in Magodo. Thank you very much for holding on, Peter. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling.
Yes, first of all, I just want to complain about the attitude of our public officers. How on earth you will see a public officer and supposed to be looking smart? They got to work. Every time they wear abada that they cannot even carry. Every time they are dragging with abada, they call themselves a faithful servant. You know, that's number one. Anywhere in the world, you see people on suit all the time. They are folding their suit to make sure that they are productive. In Nigeria here, we are not being productive at all. We are just here. Half of them are just in politics to better themselves, instead of transferring wealth to the public. If we continue like this, to use the appointment to settle my brother, to settle my cousin, to settle my political associate, we'll continue to dance round and round till the day we'll say, okay, enough is enough. And the corruption in the system is too much. The corruption is too from top to bottom. Everywhere is corrupt. The day we will just come together and say, okay, let us forgive. In fact, let them forgive everybody that is in prison. Then start afresh. Because they can't be seeing a politician stealing 80 billion and going free. Then somebody would beat somebody or steal eyeglass. Then the person goes to 10 years imprisonment. It doesn't make sense. This is the Nigeria. We need to change our attitude if we must move forward.
All right.
The area of coming to politics to consume, to better your own family, to stealing money that will better your children's family. I think the time will come when all these things will end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter.